Hello. So I sent out a Facebook Live notice and I said, COVID, my turn. Yeah, I usually post every week and typically on Tuesday, even though that's not always the case. Hello, I'm Nan Simonson. Before I go any further, I am a health and wellness coach, and this is my book, Aging Powerfully at 71. I have a mission to live a life and to teach and train about a life that can keep us going regardless what our is. You could be in your 30s or 40s. Eventually, you're going to be in your 50s or 60s. And like me, I'm 71. And if we make good lifestyle choices, I'm part of a lifestyle medicine family practice and have been for nearly 4 years, have been whole food plant based for nearly 4 years, actually a little longer than I was with them. And I have been in stellar health, better than ever. Not right now. Last week when I posted, it was Tuesday. I had just tested the day before and I was positive with COVID. No way, where did this come from? And a friend of mine who, because I sent out notices to people I know and had spent some time with the week before, a friend of mine immediately texted us all and said, I have it too. Well, she and I were at two events the previous week, on a Wednesday lunch and a Thursday event, but nobody at the Thursday event got it, and we were in touch with that group. Later, the event that had a 4-day, was a 4-day opening of the Cheech Marin collection of contemporary Hispanic art. Chicano art is what he calls it. There was quite a spread at any number of the 4 or 5 events they did following the big opening. But it wasn't the one that we were at. We figured it was the lunch. So it's been since 2 Wednesdays ago, if we count tomorrow. And 2 Wednesdays ago. And my friend and I have stayed in touch this entire time. And in spite of the fact that I have been in stellar health, have gone through years without getting ill, I did get a cold in April when I was up in the mountains, and I live in Southern California. I was up in Big Bear, and it was a cold, and I thought, oh, I hate this. Lasted 3 days. Everybody else was out hiking. I wasn't. The 4th day, I was up hiking with them. This is different. I began with symptoms on Saturday and Sunday, didn't realize it. It was a scratchy throat, slightly runny nose. But I was still cycling each day, and on Sunday had an hour and a half cycle, and I was pretty strong. But I didn't sleep well. Sorry. I didn't feel strong, and so on Monday morning I took the test, and yes, it was positive. And to add to that story, that Thursday, my husband Tim, although no symptoms whatever, tested on early Thursday morning. He woke me up at 4:30 and said, test me. I don't feel right. He normally sleeps like a log, and he couldn't sleep. It just felt off, but no classic symptoms, meaning no fever, scratchy throat, runny nose, cough, nothing like that. And he was positive as well. And we were shaking our heads thinking, man, after all this time, 2.5 years, this thing's caught up with us. When they say this, the Omicron virus mutation is very infectious, oh man, because I hadn't been masking since I got my vaccines. I had had 3 vaccines, the 2 vaccines, and on February, early March, I had a booster. Tim, on the other hand, had a booster just 3 weeks ago. So that was his second booster, his fourth shot. And he still got it. Now, maybe that the fact that he had no symptoms is proof that the vaccine did what it was supposed to do, weaken the response, weakened the virus, and allowed him to go relatively well and easily. I had heard as soon as I got sick that I should be taking something called Paxlovid, people with higher incidence or comorbidities. And I had a comorbidity, nothing else, because again, in stellar health, all of my health numbers are beautiful, but I'm 71. That's a comorbidity, isn't that sad? And so my doctor ordered me this Paxlovid, a strong antiviral that's supposed to knock out any symptoms, but it got messed up at the with the pharmacy and the insurance and all, and I didn't get it until Thursday afternoon. And by then, if you wanted to count Saturday and Sunday as some of those days, and it was supposed to be taken at least 5 days early, preferably 3, it was too late for me. But my husband took it immediately, and per doctor's orders, go ahead, take Nan's dose. And again, he's had no symptoms. So now here we are, and he is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. This is Tuesday, the 28th of June. And he has no symptoms except for this general foggy-minded kind of a general weakness, nothing else. And he's much stronger than me, but he doesn't feel like walking our usual 30-minute brisk walk every evening. We walked around the block 2 days ago in the morning, and it took a lot out of us. And the Thursday before I became ill, I had run a 7-mile run because I'm working up to a half marathon in October. This is going to be interesting. We'll see when I start getting my stamina back. So I want to say no one's immune. It's hard to tell from whom I got it and how, but I had the vaccines. I had a booster, still got it. Tim had another booster on the booster, still got it. We have mild cases. At our age, we could have been in pretty serious shape. Possibly would have been if this variant hadn't been as relatively weak as it is. If this were early COVID, I don't know. I'm just speculating. But one of the things about COVID that's very different from that cold, that mild cold I had up in Big Bear, 2 months ago, it lingers. Because this is, for me, officially day number 12, if you count the beginning of symptoms, that's Saturday and Sunday, or day 10, if you count the day that I was tested. And I should be out doing my thing. According to, well, the CDC said even you can be out by your 5th day, as long as you don't have symptoms like the fever. And I don't have a fever, but I don't feel like doing a lot of running around at all. So I'm going to say this lingers. And there are a couple of words that, I love words, that describe it. You've heard people talk about the fatigue that goes along with COVID. Well, I had a different word, and it was just a general malaise. Malaise meaning a ill at ease, a general feeling of discomfort or illness or a lack of well-being. I'd say that's pretty accurate. But there's something else, and I haven't been ill long enough to know if this is going to be the case. But there's something that people talk about, and they call it long COVID. I highly recognize, revere, honor, respect Dr. David Katz, who is a preventative medicine doctor, has treated patients for 40 years, speaks internationally about preventative medicine, and is a whole food plant-based past president of the College of Lifestyle Medicine, as is the doctor that I am a health coach for in Riverside, California, Lifestyle Medical in Riverside and Redlands, California. And he got COVID, and he got something that I was referring to, and that is called long COVID, meaning after all symptoms were done, there were periods when I should have mentioned headache. Yeah, headache. When I woke up that morning, I had that, all of that. Scratchy throat, headache, felt terrible. And Tim hasn't had any of that. So again, maybe it's the booster, maybe it's the Paxlovid, Paxlovid, actually, so Paxlovid. But there's something that is being now spoken of that's documented. You could look it up. Look up post-exertion malaise, MAILASE, post-exertion malaise. And it's a real malady, and that is that when somebody thinks they're feeling better after what COVID does. Now, what does COVID do? It goes for your lungs. And that's where this phase 2 of COVID can be so dangerous. And my doctor, Dr. Deisinger, explained to both Tim and me. We had a Zoom call with him on Wednesday morning after we found out that Tim too was sick. And that phase 2 is when whatever it's going to do to your lungs kicks in. And it's done its damage, and now the lungs are fighting back, and that's where you can get into some real trouble. And that's when I started getting much more of a deep kind of a cough. And with this post-exertion malaise, what happens is people think they're better past that 5-day window they're into now, their 10-day window, when we really pretty much, if you look at the CDC, they say that we're starting to slough off the virus after 5 to 6 days, and by the 10th day we've pretty well gotten rid of all of it or a lot of it from our body. You need to be drinking lots and lots of water to help facilitate all that, antioxidant foods, and I'll talk about those things later. But you want to get back to action like I did in Big Bear. I was running again. Within days, I was hiking with our family. Within days of thinking that I was so sick to do any hiking up there at all, 7,000 feet up when I live at sea level. That should have made it even more difficult. But this post-exertion malaise seems to be something that's similar to this long COVID, and that's what Dr. Katz ended up with, and that was the COVID, even though he's whole food plant-based exclusive, and long COVID that he has had, or that the last time I heard him talking about it was 4 months out after he had had COVID. I don't know how long it's lasted, but PEM, post-exertion malaise, is a syndrome whereby people who become ill with COVID then try to get back to their regular life, and they're tired of, and I could see myself doing that. I think I'm going to go for a run and push it too far. Symptoms come back, and it feels like we've gotten the illness back again. We relax, we rest, symptoms abate, and then we exert again, overexert, and this becomes a cycle. The overexertion, the symptoms back, then we're forced to rest, we're forced to take it easy. The symptoms resolve themselves until what? We exert again. There's something that they call the exercise envelope, or is it the energy envelope, where you must learn to break activities into shorter bits, less exertion, to measure where one is in that energy envelope to stay within that envelope, and that's how you can break that syndrome and break that cycle. I have no idea if that's anything that I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to, but knowing it is very helpful. And I thought I would share that with you as well. So, in that way, COVID is very different. COVID is different because it goes straight for our lungs. That 5 day window has come and gone. I have some gunk, but it's not progressing. It's not getting worse. I use some tools that I would recommend. This is an oximeter. Put it in the finger or on your finger. And with Tim, he keeps setting this thing off. Push the button first. He keeps setting it off onto a tangent, and it doesn't work well for him. It looks like he is not only under oxygenated but dead based on the results that he gets. If you're in the 80s, you're in trouble. You go to a hospital. Our oxygen percentage, like mine's 97 over 74, 74 pulse, 97 oxygenation, that's great. But if it's down into the lower 90s, ooh, watch yourself. If it gets into the 80s, you can be in trouble. He's pulled up a couple of 70s. And then we know it's just not working on him for some reason, off and on. So don't trust something that looks terribly exaggerated. You want a thermometer. This one is the kind that is starting to beep. Run it across my head. Zip, 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 zip. Whoops. And 96.6. I run a low temperature anyway. I don't do 98 or something that's as simple as this guy. And what's fun about this is that when you put it in your mouth, even in a dark room, if it beeps 4 times, your temperature is normal or a little under. If it starts making another noise, a quicker beat, tick, 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 that means you've got a temperature. Turn on the light and see what it is. I think that's pretty clever. So those are helpful to have because I didn't know I was ill until I took my temperature the night before. It was like 99 maybe, and I do 97. And that next morning it was 99.9, and then after that it was 100. Never got any higher than that. There is still a lot you can get done when you're ill like this because it depends on your illness. It depends on your degree of illness. I couldn't run. I couldn't exert. But I could still get up and do things. And I did a number of things. First of all, those first quiet days, I still worked. I still saw a client. I was diagnosed Monday morning, and I saw a client at 2 o'clock on Monday afternoon. I also ran a team group, an hour and a half for Lifestyle Medical, did the Facebook Live, was on another 1.5 hour class for a certification program as a eating disorder recovery coach. And I've just been certified with that, so I was in an event for that. So there was, or a patient for an event for that. There's a lot I've been able to do, but there's a silver lining to everything, and that's part of what I wanted to talk about. When we're forced to cut back, and we're forced to settle, and we're forced to stop adding to everything we do, sometimes we reevaluate where we've been, what's important, and maybe where we want to go. And we can pull together new, I'll call life interests that can enrich our life from that moment on. For example, 12 years ago, my late husband had passed away. I, within days of the memorial, took off for what I thought would be 2 months, going to India where my son lived, and they were having their first child, my first grandchild. But I didn't want to come home even after they didn't need me, and I went off into Morocco. I went into Egypt, Israel, Jordan, and in all I visited 15 countries in 15 months. Came home for a little while and took off again. So I was gone the first time 6 months. While I was there, I spent a month in Mumbai, that's old Bombay, in Mumbai, at a yoga institute, the oldest yoga institute for the common man in India. And it was run by a 85, 89-year-old man who was a yoga master. And even though we learned asanas, which is what most people think yoga is, you move around a lot and you do it and learn to breathe with your movements. Yoga was so much more. I have notebooks of philosophy, theory, um, the yoga sutras, the yamas and niyamas, all of this that I wrote down, and then a little book of 34 asanas. So there was so much to learn, but I wasn't in a learning place. I was in a needing comfort place. My late husband of 40 years had passed away just, what was that, 4 months before? August, September, October, November, December, yeah, 4 months before. And so I was just kind of there, just being there. And I decided to go back and reread those and learn what I had learned but didn't use to see if I can apply it in with what I already do with clients and with patients, to add one more layer of understanding to our ability, innate ability to calm ourselves, heal ourselves, understand that the body wants that, and add additional modalities. And what is more relevant than a 4,000-year-old written practice? And the Yoga Sutras, this is the path of the Yoga Sutras, was recommended to me because I found out about a yoga teacher who spends a lot of time with the philosophy of yoga. I connected with her, asked if she would teach me, pick up where I left off and didn't understand last time, and teach me. And she said, tell you what, I've got a busy month. She has a granddaughter staying with her for a month. She said, read 2 books. Read the yamas and niyamas, and these are the things that apply to our insides and apply to society, us in society. And she said, read this, The Path to the Yoga Sutras. Both of these were written in layman's terms, both of them written very well. She highly recommended them. So I'm reading them now. That's out of nowhere. I don't know that I ever would have slowed down enough to pay attention to this had it not been for my needing to slow down. And what saved us, because we had a busy weekend, and so we were pulling out of I call it my library of food. It's like a lending library, because once it's empty, I better get something back in there and replenish it. And I'm talking about my freezer. I have a freezer in the garage. I have one in the kitchen, but also the bigger one in the garage, a side-by-side refrigerator. But it doesn't have to have just everyday stuff in it. And I had a lot of meals in there. Well, Tim and I ended up with days and days and days of these warming soups and stews and chilies that sustained us while I wasn't cooking. But then, in these last few days, I have been very busy restocking that freezer, and I have the time to. It's actually been in the last 5 days because I felt like it. I saw that it was getting low. I did I don't know if you love your Instapot, but I love my Instapot. I have a 6-quart and an 8-quart, and I made an 8-quart African sweet potato peanut stew, froze a bunch of that, left it out, made a black bean mushroom chili, froze a bunch of that, left the pot out again, and then I made a big pot of wonderful chunky split pea soup and froze a bunch of that. So each night we would have one of those soups. A bunch of them would go into the garage. And I've been doing things like that. Now, if I were really ill, I couldn't have been in the kitchen that much, making that kind of a mess. Tim had shopped for me before he ever got COVID, and so I had a lot of ingredients here. Yesterday, I made a whole bunch of flatbreads. You can look at my YouTube channel, which you can find at YouTube Nan Simonson, my name, but with a space between Nan and Simonson. Or you can just go to my website, which is Nan Simonson, no space, nansimonson.com, and there's a link there for my YouTube cooking show, because these recipes were all there, and I'll be posting the flatbread. Oh, I don't know if it'll be this week or next week, but it's an oat flatbread, and it is so easy. And we've been using the flatbread to make sandwiches, sandwich pockets out of, well, for example, the curried chickpea mix that some people would eat. For example, instead of like a tuna salad or an egg salad, you use chickpea and then flavorings, and it's wonderful. Well, tomato and lettuce and pickle and red onion and this fold over wonderful flatbread out of oat. See, there's no gluten in oat. There's no oil in it. It's just a nice, lean, healthy whole grain, because you mix it up with water and you make a flatbread kind of it's almost like a crepe batter. So all of this to say, oh, and then I made a huge carrot and pineapple salad. Again, your vegetables, your fruit. We ate a lot of fruit every morning. We have our oatmeal. I use oat groats with a lot of berries. So there's so much you can do when you're holding still. So is there a silver lining to COVID? Yeah, there can be. Being very ill, and I'm not being insensitive to the loss of life. What did we lose? More than 500,000 people to COVID? It's hideous. We are fortunate enough, I am fortunate enough, that we're a couple of years into this, and this is mild enough for me to be blithely talking about cooking while I had COVID. I don't mean it any disrespect. And then Tim and I had a chance to just sit and watch movies. We don't do that very often, maybe on a Friday date night. But we've just kind of sat and just enjoyed each other's company. So how would I give you some words of, I'll say, wisdom as it relates to COVID? First, I want some from you. Be thinking about it, because I'm going to ask for your comments. But first of all, I'd say start off with a strong, healthy body. I don't know where we would be if I were pre-diabetic, if I were extremely obese and my body was already working with inflammatory markers that are produced, inflammation that is produced by the effects of fat cells and abundance of fat cells in the body. It is very highly inflammatory. If I had full-on diabetes with the lack of oxygen in my blood, if we had high blood pressure, if we had massively high cholesterol and all the medications that a lot of Americans take to ward off chronic illness, 80% of which is avoidable, because 80% of our chronic illnesses that we see every day are lifestyle related. Those are the things that I work with in my clinic, and we see reversal. That's why I like working with a lifestyle medical doctor. People don't come to us to then be prescribed this pill and this procedure. They come to us and we see what we can do to get them off of what they're on, because we're going to give them a job to do just like our job, and that is to help make themselves better. A prescription for choices in life, modalities that can make us healthier. And it's worked for me, and it's worked for Tim, and it's worked for, gosh, hundreds of people that have paid attention to our messages. However, not even however, let me add to that. So, in early days, 94%, I took this off the CDC, of deaths were from chronic people with chronic diseases, those deaths that were related to COVID. Now it has become much milder, thank goodness. Some things that you want to make sure of, and you want to make sure that you're eating the cleanest diet you can. I'll give you a couple more statistics. 64%, 65% of what most Americans eat is processed foods. Processed foods do not feed the microbiome, therefore it doesn't feed our most essential organs, including our heart, our most essential lifelines, such as our arteries and veins. And it doesn't feed us antioxidants that can help keep our immune system healthy. So eat cleanly. What does that mean? Fruits, vegetables, grains, legumes, seeds, and nuts. If you eat eggs or fish or meat or butter or ice cream, eat the smallest amount of those you can, I'll call it, live with, and load your body with the things that actually make a difference as it relates to antioxidant and immune health. You want anti-inflammatory foods, and those are primarily your fruits and vegetables, especially berries, as well as your leafy greens. That's why today I had a bowl of soup, but I also had a nice size. I'm not that hungry, not as much as I used to be, but I shouldn't be. I'm not exercising an hour and a half every day. But those leafy greens are really important. And even if you have just a little bit, your microbiome starts changing within days of changing your diet from the foods that hurt your body to the foods that help your body. Remember turmeric? I put it every morning into my oatmeal, a bit of a spoonful mixed with some ginger and some cinnamon. And if you use turmeric, use a little bit of pepper, because the pepper makes it much more bioavailable. Stir that in with flax and chia, and then some berries, and then some bananas, and then some nuts, and that oat groat breakfast or oatmeal breakfast becomes a real antioxidant masterpiece. Keep moving. I don't mean exertion. I mean just get up and move. If you are healthy, get up and exert yourself. If you get COVID, still get up and move, because without moving, your lymphatic system isn't moving, your muscles aren't contracting, your blood is not pulsing through, and everything is somewhat stagnant. So my getting up to cook right away, come into my office and work sitting up and moving up and down right away, was probably very helpful. Prioritize good quality sleep. Always give yourself a chance to, on a regular basis, sleep 7 to 8 or 9 hours a day. Prioritizing sleep is one of the major things. Hope that didn't hurt something. I just pushed a button and it kind of closed the screen out for a second. Prioritizing sleep is one of the most important things you can do for brain health, for prevention of Alzheimer's, for clear thinking, as well as for your body. Stay up on community. Don't isolate, ever. If you're with COVID, connect with people by texting, or as I do, with Zoom. As I said, I was Zooming people and doing meetings fully fully engulfed in COVID, but not that hacking kind of sickness, because I never really got that. But what I could do, I did. I never canceled one thing, and I had, 4-5 events that week. And drink, as I said, plenty of water. Keep at bay the more harmful beverages. You don't need sugary beverages. You don't want a lot of caffeine. You don't want alcohol, which is a toxin. When you're fighting something already, give your body the ability to fight it with all of its own guns fully charged. And if you are building your resilience to COVID, don't overdo those foods anyway. I drink a cup of coffee in the morning, but actually it's like a half cup. A little of something isn't going to usually make a difference. A lot of something that overstimulates the adrenal system, wears it out, isn't such a good idea. And then finally, I'll ask you, what was your silver lining? What would be your silver lining? Knock on wood. I'm talking to you and you've not had COVID, like I hadn't prior to, 6 days ago? No, 8 days ago now. But maybe you've not had it. What would your silver lining be, or can you even guess? If you've had it, what was your silver lining? How did you come out of it a little bit better than when you went into it? Or if you can't answer that question, what did you do to make it something that you got through that didn't, I'll say, completely take you down? And even if you're a victim of long COVID, or maybe you're suffering from post exertion malaise, there's still plenty about life that can be delightful in spite of the difficulties we have when we're fighting a thing that has changed our reality. And man, COVID has changed our reality. And now it's changed mine. But I can see all kinds of things that could even be better in the aftermath. I hope you're having a great day, because I know I am. Consider Aging Powerfully. It's a good read. Subscribe and thumbs up us, and help us spread our word. And take very good care of yourself. I don't know what I would have done differently. At a restaurant, you don't have a mask on. I'm masking now, but that's part of just being responsible, because I've had it and because I still could have some of the virus floating around in me. I'm not sure yet. But take real good care of yourself. And thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.